It is the year 627 AD. The sun had just begun to rise when the two armies lined up on the vast plateau of Nineveh. The icy December air cut like knives, making each breath feel like torture. The Byzantine soldiers looked at each other with a mix of determination and fear, aware of the magnitude of the challenge before them. In front of them, the Persian banners waved proudly, their soldiers ready for combat. For the Byzantines, this battle meant the opportunity to secure the survival of their empire. Heraclius, their leader, had spent years reforming the army and reconquering lost territories. A victory here would mean not only the definitive weakening of Persian power, but also the possibility of restoring the glory and stability of the Byzantine Empire. On the other hand, the Persians, under the command of Razad, were determined to maintain their dominance and prestige. Defeat was not an option, as it would mean the collapse of their influence and the end of their conquests. The Persian soldiers, driven by the defense of their honor and the continuity of their empire, were ready to fight with everything they had. The murmur of the troops and the creaking of the armor created a symphony of war as the commanders gave their final instructions. The tension was palpable, and everyone knew that the battle was about to begin. The situation of the Byzantine Empire in 610 AD was disastrous. Phocas had usurped the throne, and his reign had been marked by incompetence and brutality. In this chaotic scenario, Heraclius, the young governor of Africa, decided to take action. In 610 AD, with the support of his troops and a well-equipped fleet, he sailed to Constantinople, overthrowing Phocas and taking the throne. From the beginning, Heraclius faced immense challenges, with the Sassanid Empire attacking from the east and the Avars and Slavs pressing from the north. The Persians, under the leadership of King Khosrow, advanced relentlessly, capturing cities and sacking Byzantine territories. In 614 AD, they took Jerusalem, taking the True Cross, a devastating blow both morally and spiritually for Christians. Heraclius understood that to survive and win, he needed to reform his army. He introduced significant changes, improving the discipline and organization of the troops. He abandoned defensive tactics and adopted an offensive strategy, taking the war directly to the heart of Persian territory. In 622 AD, he personally led a campaign in Asia Minor, marking the beginning of a series of victories that would revitalize the empire. The first great test of Heraclius' new strategy came at the Battle of Issus in 622 AD. Here, in the fields where Alexander the Great had won his famous victory, Heraclius demonstrated his military genius. With a combination of tactical cunning and bravery, he managed to defeat a much larger Persian army, inflicting a severe defeat that raised the morale of his troops and sent a clear message to his enemies. Byzantine casualties were moderate, while the Persians lost a significant number of their soldiers. After the victory at Issus, Heraclius took the war to Armenia, a key territory in the fight against the Persians. Between 623 and 624 AD, his army advanced successfully, capturing fortresses and defeating Sassanid forces in several minor battles. These victories not only weakened the Persians, but also secured important supply routes and consolidated Heraclius' position in the region. Casualties were relatively low compared to previous campaigns. In 625 AD, Heraclius launched a new offensive, facing the Persians at the Battle of the Saras River. This battle was particularly fierce, with both sides suffering numerous casualties. However, Heraclius's ability to adapt to changing battlefield conditions allowed him to secure another crucial victory. In this battle, Byzantine casualties were approximately 5,000, while the Persians suffered around 7,000 casualties. The Persian defeat at Saras significantly weakened their ability to launch offensives against the Byzantines. The year 626 AD was one of the most critical for the Byzantine Empire. While Heraclius was campaigning, the Persians and their Ava allies launched a joint siege of Constantinople. The defense of the city was heroic, with the population and army resisting despite the odds. Byzantine determination, along with Heraclius's astute diplomacy, which managed to divide his enemies, resulted in the failure of the siege. This defensive victory was a turning point, demonstrating that the Byzantine Empire could resist and recover. Casualties were significant, but the resistance prevailed. After the failure of the siege of Constantinople, Heraclius decided to launch a decisive attack to eliminate the Persian threat once and for all. In 627 AD, he meticulously prepared for the campaign that would culminate in the Battle of Nineveh. Gathering his best troops, securing strategic alliances, and planning every move with precision, Heraclius set out to face the Persians in a final confrontation. It is estimated that Heraclius mobilized around 25,000 soldiers, while the Persians had an army of approximately 30,000 men. The morale of the troops was high, and the emperor was determined to restore the glory of the Byzantine Empire. The first contact between the Byzantine and Persian armies on the Nineveh plateau was brutal and decisive. Heraclius, knowing that morale and surprise would be his greatest allies, launched an early morning attack. The Byzantines, using an ambush tactic, managed to disorient the Persian forces. The shouts of soldiers, the clash of swords, and the roar of cavalry filled the icy air. The Persian forces, surprised by the ferocity of the Byzantine attack, began to retreat, leaving the field strewn with corpses. Heraclius's strategy involved a well-coordinated ambush. Around noon, he feigned a retreat to lure the bulk of the Persian army into a trap. The Persian army pursues the Byzantines onto a plain, where the Byzantines turn around to engage an army that has become disorganized in its effort to overtake them. The ground was littered with fallen soldiers and runaway horses, while the Byzantines pressed their advantage. The battle intensified as both forces engaged in hand-to-hand combat. The Byzantine soldiers, motivated by the presence of their emperor on the battlefield, fought with fierce determination. The Persian lines began to crumble under the constant pressure. The snow, stained red, and the cries of the wounded created a hellish scene as the Byzantines advanced meter by meter, gaining ground. As the day progressed, the situation for the Persians became untenable. The combination of the initial ambush, effective archery, and Byzantine tenacity in hand-to-hand combat led to the collapse of the Persian forces. The Persian leaders, recognizing defeat, ordered a disorganized retreat. This flight resulted in many additional casualties, with the Byzantines pursuing the fugitives and securing a total victory. The Battle of Nineveh was a decisive victory for Heraclius and the Byzantine Empire. The Persian forces were completely defeated, suffering the loss of a large part of their army. In total, the Byzantines managed to annihilate about half of the Persian army, while their own casualties were considerable, but not catastrophic. This triumph not only secured Byzantine supremacy in the region, but also broke the Persian military power. After the crushing victory at Nineveh, Heraclius and his army began the task of rebuilding and consolidating the recaptured territories. The triumphant return to Constantinople was met with grand celebrations. The victory not only revitalized the Byzantine spirit, but also strengthened Heraclius's position as a leader. The news of the victory spread quickly, and confidence in the emperor reached new heights. In 629 AD, Heraclius achieved a triumph not only militarily, but also spiritually. He recovered the true cross, bringing it back to Jerusalem in a solemn ceremony. This symbolic act greatly enhanced his reputation and the morale of the Christian people. For this reason, Heraclius is considered the first crusader in history. The defeat at Nineveh had profound repercussions for the Sassanid Empire. King Khosrow II was deposed in a coup, plunging the empire into chaos and civil war. Internal weakening allowed the Byzantines to recover and secure their eastern borders. Furthermore, the fracture of Sassanid power left the empire vulnerable to future invasions, marking the beginning of its decline. Internal conflicts and the loss of resources and men hindered its recovery. During the following decade, Heraclius dedicated himself to consolidating his empire. He implemented administrative and military reforms to ensure long-term stability. He reorganized the provinces, strengthened border defenses, and improved fiscal administration. These reforms laid the foundation for an era of relative peace and prosperity, although new challenges would arise with the emergence of the Muslim Arabs, but that is a story for another video. Please subscribe to the channel and give it a like.